Hey, welcome to another episode. I'm Dr. Frankensteel, and today I'm going to be talking about bandsaws. Probably watching this video because you're wondering about bandsaws. I've worked with quite a few. I'm a welder, fabricator. When they first came out, it was kind of like, oh, you got one of those? I want to use it. Some guys, they didn't want anyone touching their bandsaws. They saw someone using a bandsaw wrong, they would get completely like screamed at. It was not really the greatest experience to come across someone like that. After dealing with that for so long, I was just like, you know what? I'm going to just buy my own and mess around with it, learn the do's and don'ts, and there ain't no one that can tell me any different. I was thinking about getting a bandsaw for quite some time. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get one today, and just never did. But I walked into Harbor Freight one day, and they had one on the open box section on discount, only like 90 bucks. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll get one of those. So I went ahead and bought one on the open box rack. It's Bauer. Not a bad saw. It is Harbor Freight, but I think I got this like 3 years ago. It's still kicking. Being as it's from Harbor Freight, I thought it was going to be complete junk. This thing has lasted me 3 years, like I said. I've had experiences with other Harbor Freight tools. They didn't last 5 minutes. Probably saw other videos where they did completely bash this bandsaw. It's not a bad saw. Just by looking at mine, you can see it didn't come with this plate. I built this plate. It's not that hard. I took the existing plate off and just put a piece of paper up without the blade in. Take the blade out if you're going to do it. But put a piece of paper and just do like a light rubbing of where the holes are and where the blade is. Then you just transfer that over to a piece of steel you want to mount up. Now, you do have to countersink the holes below the deck of the plate. So this is a 1/2-inch galvanized piece I just had laying around, and it had enough meat on there to be stable enough to be clamped into a vise. Table mount saw. This is your tabletop. But I countersunk these into 1/4 inch to 3/8 of the material just to mount this. Not really stable right now. I got to tighten it back down. It wobbles out. But I need to put Loctite in it. But I countersunk the hole so it would sink below the top, and when I feed a piece of metal into it, it won't get caught on the heads. Portabands, it's a good tool to have. Compared to a grinder, bandsaw doesn't throw sparks. It keeps all of the material, that stuff, keeps it all falling in one spot. It doesn't shoot it way over there like a grinder. But you know, with the grinder, you can cut long seams that has multiple attachments. You can cut a lot of different things, but it is loud. You got different kinds of tools for different kinds of projects. I like using this thing because it'll cut straight through a solid piece, depending on what blade you get. There's different types of blades. You got to do your research on tooth per inch, the TPI. There's anywhere from like 12 to like 24 TPI. All depends on your material thickness. I tend to stick with 18 TPI. It's light gauge to heavy gauge. But this saw is also limited by rote opening. You can only really cut something that'll fit within this area. That's about 5 inches, 4.5. Most saws have a variable speed dial, so you can slow down the blade if you want to, or you can just go full throttle. I tend to stick with around like 4 or 3, go a little slower. The newer Milwaukee, they have a safety where you have to push the button, pull the trigger. You can't just pull the trigger. You have to push the safety on first. This one's just straight trigger. So you probably saw me using this saw on my other videos and we're just curious about it. So that's why I'm making this video. Or if you're just curious about bandsaws in general and want some more information, I just recently cut apart a brass ball valve. I cut it apart to fit into my foundry so I can melt it down. A bunch of these little brass coins that I designed on Tinkercad. I just wanted some pirate gold, and I didn't want something just like already up someone else designed. I wanted to kind of make it my own. Printed the coin and then cast it from brass from the ball valve. My crucible is really only like that big of an opening, so I got to cut the pieces down to be that big. So I cut the ball valve with this. A grinder would have taken forever. This is kind of more of a cold cut, and I kept all of the brass shavings in one spot, so I really didn't have to clean like a big old area. Harbor Freight now does sell another attachment for this bandsaw that turns it into a chop saw, where clamp it in box, and it gives it this kind of operation where you can cut your piece, go back up, just like a chop saw, but a bandsaw. But you take your existing bandsaw, put it into the box. I'm eventually going to get that. I wanted to get one, but they were just too expensive at the time. They were made by Swag Off Road, and they were selling them for like $300. Not that expensive, but it was too expensive for my budget. But now Harbor Freight has them for like $100, not American made. But it's either I don't have the tool or I have the tool. You know, I don't feel all that bad from buying that piece that was originally made at Swag Off Road, because Swag Off Road sold a lot of stuff to upgrade your Harbor Freight stuff. They sold weld-on wings for your tubing rollers, amongst other things that they've made for them. You can go ahead and look up Swag Off Road yourself. I'm not trying to sell you a Swag Off Road or a Harbor Freight item, just generally speaking, just talking about them. So a lot of people have told me that the way you use the saw is when you're cutting, you have to kind of rock it, but it really depends on the material and what you're doing with it, what you want the end result to be. I got really upset at all these guys telling me all this crazy bullshit, and they were mad why they were saying it. You know, it's ultimately, it's just how you want to use it, how you want to actually cut with it. You really got to experiment. Sure, the rocking does make it faster, but you know, if you're trying to line up your measurement to where the cut's straight and you're holding it steady just to get it started, that's fine, you know. But if you don't know what I'm doing, don't try to correct me. You don't know what I'm doing. Don't be an asshole. I don't like it. But yeah, it really depends on what you're cutting, how you're cutting it, what material it is. It all depends on you. But if you get one and don't really know how to use it, stay away from the blade. I would stay on this side of the saw. If you're on this side, you're more exposed to the blade. So if it pops off, it's going to go into you. But if it pops off, it's going to stop turning. So it's safe but unsafe. But the safer practice would be to work on this side. If you like this video or want to see more like it, please like and subscribe. If you have any more questions, let me know down in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them for you. I do have more videos on the way, like these coins right here. I am building a dragon, a little, I can show you that real quick. Got a little dragon in the works. Kind of looks like a little alligator, but yeah, it's going to be a wyvern, wings and all. This is just the subframe, something I start from to kind of like mock it up to see where everything's going to be, where it needs to be. I make these just out of scrap, nothing important, just in case I got to tear it off, I can just throw it away. It's not important. This is entirely made from scrap that I've collected. I didn't buy anything to use on this thing. This is just cell bark wire from a job I used to work at. Good stuff. Then you got washers, nuts. It's not going to look like this when it's done. It's going to look completely different. Like I said, this is just a quick mock-up, just to see where it's going, send it a direction. Then my mom wants me to build some more bar stools to sell. Bar stools made from old carnival parts. They're from Water Race. I still have the parts. I just don't really have time to work on it. I don't do just YouTube. I do many things, many projects. Too many projects, too little time. But thanks for watching this video, and I hope you have a good day. Don't forget to like and subscribe and leave a comment if you got any questions. See ya.